All right, good afternoon. This is Ernie Ramirez one more time with the E29 Journeys podcast. Uh, here again from the lovely studios in downtown. Again, want to thank our sponsors, Adam Schwartz Real Estate and Investments, Chihuahua Cerveza, and if you're down in Newport, the Chihuahua Tap Room. If you're out in that area, they're open for takeout and they're open for beer service as well. Also, 100% Media. The guys that produce our show do a wonderful job. If you have a business, commercials, online marketing, it's definitely worth the time, and it's definitely something that will help grow your business. Today, we are fortunate to have Coach Dennis Blas from Verne University softball, and he was kind enough to drive out on a Friday and brave the heavy traffic and come and be a guest. So, Coach, welcome.
Thank you. The traffic did pick up a little bit. I've been going to Palm Springs once a week, and traffic's building up now once a week.
Yeah.
More so.
You golfing?
Golfing.
Okay. A lot?
Once a week.
Once a week? Okay, you're definitely better than me. That was one of the things, with traveling with the baseball guys, they all golf. And so I think I got out maybe 2 or 3 times, and I actually broke down and bought a set of clubs, and then 2 weeks later they closed the courses. So
well, they're back open again.
So. Yeah. So, now I've got Fridays doing this, so it's hard to get out. So Verne University, tell me a little bit about how you got to Verne. You can go back as far as you want, how you got into coaching, how you got into just maybe into the actual softball, and if you started in baseball, how you got there.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story. Like all kids growing up in the 70s and 80s, you played 3 sports. You went from football to basketball to baseball, or some guys went to track, and soccer wasn't big back when we were kids growing up. Went to high school. Played football, and was gonna play baseball, and as a kid, my dad grew up in the island of Guam, and all they did was play softball. They didn't men's fast pitch softball. So when he came here, he helped sponsor a team called the Long Beach Nighthawks, which was one of the top teams ever in men's softball. So I was the bat boy for him growing up, and my dad played, and so what ended up happening is I quit playing baseball, and didn't go out in high school. I just played men's fast pitch softball since I was probably 16 years old. Got to travel the country. Basically, was like a pinch runner when I first started, because most of the guys came from the minor leagues, and then they'd go in to play men's fast pitch softball. Sure. And then it kind of died out because people wanted to play some slow pitch instead, and I kept playing. I played in the lower levels, and in college, I kind of got my career going in college. I first wanted to be a broadcaster, and then I ended up going to Lutheran University and got my degree in criminal justice. And my senior year, I missed the game so much, I asked the head softball coach at Lutheran, could I come help out? And it was going great. They were at NAI school at the time, and it was going great. And then all of a sudden she says, oh, we don't need you anymore, like in January. So I said, okay. Well, she wasn't always around at practice, and so I knew a lot of the girls on the team. They'd come up to my dorm and say, "Coach, hey Dennis, can you come practice with us?" And so I'd hit them infield, and I'd do all those things. So it was almost like I was there every day, at least 3 days a week at the field. And I kept playing. And when I started my journey, in 1989, the recession hit, and I couldn't get a job anywhere. And I ended up up in Lancaster. Don't ask me how, but I ended up in Lancaster working for the city parks.
Okay.
And then they kind of said, hey, we need some coaches to help out. So that's how I really got my coaching career going. Was at Paraclete, but they only had, Paraclete was a Catholic high school, small school, so I coached football, girls basketball, and I wanted to do softball, but they only had one team because of they only had a varsity team. So the AD said, who was the softball coach, said, hey, why don't you coach golf? So I was the golf coach for 3 years, played golf every day for 3 years, and it was a great experience, and got decent in golf. But I was still playing men's fast pitch the whole time. And when I came back to back here, I'm from Long Beach area, and I came back home. I started coaching football at St. John Bosco High School, and I was coaching girls basketball at St. Joseph High School, and teaching at Bosco, and then ended up going over to St. Joseph High School. And then I ended up getting the softball job there as well. So I was a basketball coach, golf coach, and I was the softball job at St. Joseph High School. So I was at St. Joseph High School as the softball coach for 3 years. I was there for 19 years in total.
Wow.
As a teacher, AD, a dean, everything. So if anybody knows anything in the softball world, that's where the greatest softball player in the world came from, Lisa Fernandez. So she was a 2-time Olympian, 3-time Olympian, and she's now the assistant coach at UCLA. So she went to school there, and so it was great. And then a junior college job opened up at Cypress College, and the head coach, he was recruiting some of my players, hey, why don't you come coach with me? And so I convinced the principal to let me leave school about 1 o'clock, and I got to go coach softball. I was there for 15 years at Cypress College. And the crazy thing is my son was going to be a freshman at Servite High School, and I told my wife, this is my last year, no matter what. I'm going to quit coaching softball. My son is going to be a freshman. I kind of want, do some fun. And my daughter was younger.
Right.
And, when you're, as you know, Ernie, as a coach, man, you're never around, right? This is the most I've ever been around during these crazy times. Yeah. So I was going to do that, and we're in the state regional playoffs, and if we win it, we're going to go to the state championships in Bakersfield. And our head coach, who's a Hall of Famer, his name is Brad Pickler, and he's like one of the best around. He has a massive heart attack on the field after our game, after we win the game, the semifinal game, and I had to take charge and do it. And he was okay. Thank God they put a stent in him, and he's good to go. And I'll never forget, he woke up after we went to the hospital, and I had to calm the girls down, get everybody down. And I get to the hotel, the hospital right after he gets his stuff in. He says, do me one favor. I said, what's that? This is right after the surgery. He says, don't lose this game. And I go, oh, thanks, coach.
Like a true coach,
Thanks for the pressure, coach. Everyone there's going, freaking A, you just had a heart attack, and you're telling Blas not to lose this game. Yeah. So we end up winning. We go to the state championships, and unfortunately we didn't get a couple breaks that we needed. We lost. We came in third place, and then all of a sudden I wasn't going to teach at the high school anymore. And I got a text from a friend of mine that said, hey, Hope International University is going to open up. So I sent my resume the next day, and the AD called me and said, can you come and talk softball? I said, is this an interview? And he's like, no, I just want to talk softball with you. I'm trying to find a new coach. And and I heard that you coach, and I said, okay. So I sat down with him and talked with him, and next thing you know, I got a phone call back and said, hey, we'd like to give you another interview. I was like, well, is this a part-time job? Please, it's part-time, so I can't take it if it's part-time. I just can't do it. Right. So I end up, his name is John Turek, and he's a local guy out of, he was at all kinds of different schools, ended up at Troy. Now he's the AD at Hope International. It's an NAI school, and he offered me the full-time job. And when I got there, the program was pretty bad, pretty bad. They were 9-48 the year before I got there. Took over. We went 25-28 with basically 12 players. That's it. And after that occurred, we got a little better. I said, you know what? We need to go recruit junior college players. Went and got some. Next year we were 30-17. And in that first year, we lost 15 games by 2 or less runs. So we were in the games. They didn't know how to win. Right. Heck, that was probably the best coaching job I've ever done in my life. I really didn't have assistant coaches. They were there, but they couldn't always be there. And basically coached the team by myself. We had no practice. They have no facilities at Hope International. We practiced at Fullerton College at 6 a.m. Sometimes we'd start practice before the sun even came up. And then we went 46-17, I think it was, and then the following year, and then we won the conference championship for the first time in the school history, and the conference tournament, which let us go to the playoffs. And then last year we won the conference tournament. I had to make a decision. We were leading the conference by 3 games, and my best pitcher got hurt, and I said, hey. She goes, Coach, I can still pitch, and she had a stress fracture in her forearm, and I said, no, you're going to shut it down. And it's probably the best move I made. Just I don't want to hurt the kid. And shut her down to the playoffs, and she says, Coach, give me the ball in the playoffs. I'll be ready. And she won the conference tournament, and we ended up coming in second place in the super regional. So, that's how my career got going. And then I just kind of said, let me apply at Laverne. I wasn't even thinking I was going to get phone call. It called me the first time, and the funny part is, it was a phone interview, and I told my wife, we're going to be in Yosemite, and they got bad reception. And she said, oh, my God. So I just drove around on my bike, and I was calling my son. He was stayed home, and I was calling him and said, hey, I got good reception. What do you got? And he goes, it's perfect there, Dad. So I did my first interview at Laverne in the Yosemite Cemetery. That's where I did my first interview at the Yosemite Cemetery. Got a second one, met the panel, did that, and then they called me up. And I didn't think I got the job at Laverne. I said they're going to call you by Wednesday or Thursday the following week. You're in the final 3. I didn't get a phone call Wednesday, didn't get a call Thursday, didn't get a phone call Friday. And I said, you know what? I told my wife, she goes, don't worry, just go kill it for Hope now. Go get some kids. And I went and got that Saturday. I'll never forget that Saturday morning. Got 2 recruits to commit to Hope, and we're going to my buddy's 60th birthday party. I'm talking to Brad Pickler, and I get a phone call. Didn't know the number. I'm like, hey, he goes, this is Scott Winterburn. I go, okay, he's going to tell me I didn't get the job, which is okay. Sure. I was okay. And he said, we're going to offer you the job. And I said to him, excuse me? He said, yeah, you're going to offer you the job. And so I took the job, and I said, heck yeah, let's go. So that's where I've been now. And, we were starting to roll and do well, and then the COVID hit. So,
How far into your season were you guys?
16 games. We're a 40-game schedule, and we were 16 games. So, and it's a challenge wherever you go. I'm a high-energy coach, and not everybody's like that sometimes. So, gapping the players was kind of tough, both ways, but we worked it out, and they were starting to get on a roll. We lost to a tough game to the number 3 team in the country. Had the game won, just, something happened. But we came back. We beat, pretty good. And we were going to be probably – the Raiders tell me we would have been ranked pretty high because our strength of schedule is pretty good. So I really felt bad for our kids that, they had to get cut short. But, Laverne's a great place. I love Orange. My dad was the president of U-Haul for 25 years, so I'm used to Orange. So our kids wear orange everything. So
yeah, it's interesting. We met probably about a year ago, I think, when we came out and we did a softball factory event there. And actually, I was really impressed with your energy and your interest and just the questions you asked about what we were doing in the program. And I liked a lot of the things that you had mentioned about wanting to build the program. And being a former coach, it's hard to generate that kind of energy all the time. And listening to your story now, it brings up a lot of other questions for me that I want you to expand on. But, when you're starting a program like that, and something like this happens, and obviously it's something that you've never experienced. No one ever has.
No one has, right?
Yeah, and it's a little scary for younger people. I won't even say players, because the people that you normally look to for advice, well, we don't have it. So, and like you mentioned, now you've got these girls in a situation where, hey, we were starting to roll. We had a good season. We pumped, and as athletes, we're directed at a date and directed at games and series and things like that. When everything shut down, for lack of a better word, did you have a conversation with your team? Did you get a chance to address them before?
Yeah, we did. We were on, I think we were on spring break, so we were playing teams coming from out of state to play us, and it was March 11th, and we were supposed to go to Tucson. No, it wasn't spring break yet. It was the following week was going to be spring break because we were supposed to go to Tucson, Arizona. And I asked the school, and they said, yeah, you're going. Don't worry, you're going. And I said, okay. And then we were pretty much going to try to play games until when the NCAA said there's no more. So that's when we had a meeting. Our athletic director, Scott Winterburn, came in and told everybody all seasons are they're done now. And so that was probably the hardest thing. And he went to each program and said, do you want me to speak to the girls? I said, can you? It was raining and stuff, so he went and spoke to our girls. Well, I mean, we were all there too, and just our assistant coaches, everybody, and we had to speak to him. It's probably the toughest thing I've ever had to do in my life, And just because it just goes to show you, though, you never know when something's going to be taken away. And so just really appreciate it. For all these kids out here, just really appreciate when they get an opportunity to do so.
So now going forward, what have your conversations been like with maybe your seniors or some of your underclassmen? Everyone that I've spoken to during this has had different levels of conversation or communication with their players.
We've had 6 seniors.
Okay.
And 3 said they're not going to come back.
Okay.
One's going to become a police officer, which I really wanted to do growing up, but didn't happen. God had a different calling for me to be here. So, and then one lives up north, and the other one's a local girl, went to Riverside Community College. They're going to graduate, but they just want to play. The other 3 want to try to make it work into their schedules if they can make it work. So we got that. I try to really communicate with our kids through GroupMe or Zoom every 2 weeks just to make sure they're all doing okay. And, it's a really tough time, so you don't know, especially being locked up and not being supposed to leave the house and, just a lot of different things. And so, I have 2 kids of my own. One's 19. He had to come home from college, and the other one's a junior at Rosary Academy in Fullerton. So it's been tough on everybody. My wife works from home. She's at Pepperdine University, but she's had to work from home now. So we're all kind of, in cramped quarters,
Yeah.
So that's been an adjustment for everybody.
Yeah.
And so my players, I keep in contact with them a lot, just talk to them and see if they need anything.
Yeah, it's different because, again, talking to the different coaches that we've had in, one of the things we discuss is your transition from player to teacher or mentor. And a lot of the girls that you have, you don't know the background of their environment. And so sometimes now, as a coach, your mentorship side is really being put in the forefront because of this situation. You know, that team might be a family function for a lot of kids, you know. How have you noticed that that's changed maybe for some of your players?
I think, you know, like I said, I can kind of tell, and we just really, I do a lot of communication with them. One of the things I've always done as a coach is say, man, we got an open door policy. You're going to need to come talk, you talk.
Yeah.
If there's something that's not right, we're going to try to make it right. And so I think that's been why we've been so successful with this group here, not really getting to know them greatly, but I was getting to know them, you know, a lot better. And you know, they're all really good kids. That's the great thing about Division III. They're good kids. They're, for the most, you know, they're good kids. They're good in the classroom, and they like to play softball. So we just really try to mentor them. I try to talk to them and leave them open, and really talk to them so that they can really adjust and do well. That's the biggest thing, you know. And if they need anything, to give me a call. It's like the biggest thing for me.
I understand maybe haven't gone back. They've stayed with a friend, or they're staying with someone local. So your communication is probably a huge right now for some of those girls.
Yeah, and that was one of my biggest things. Make sure that they all got home safely. Mostly everybody went home. A couple of our girls, like you said, they stayed there. One still has a job here, and she works here and stuff. So we only have a couple out of the area kids. So they all went home, made sure they all safe and sane. And then I just told them, you know, hey, if you guys need anything, call me. I mean, being a dad, you know, it's, you know, I got a 19-year-old and this happened to him, and a 16-year-old. So, you know, anything I can do to help out, and they know that too. Text me, call me. I love just giving them updates, what's happening, and how they do in life and stuff.
Sure.
And like this week is final exams coming up starting next week. So I've, you know, just encouraged them last Wednesday and say, everyone, let's have a great day and, you know, do good in your finals. And so I really just like to make sure they know that if they need anything, I'm around.
Good. Dropping back a little bit, I want to go back to your Hope International days, and more from a coaching standpoint, kind of listening to it. So you mentioned having to go from the record that you had to the improvement. And so changing culture when you take into a new environment, how would you give advice to a younger coach going about doing that? Or what do you think is important?
One of the biggest things, I love that part of the story, because I was at Cypress College, which is one of the top junior colleges in the country. Brad Pickler, a Hall of Fame coach, was elected last December in the Hall of Fame, the National Softball Hall of Fame. And I really learned a lot from him. You know, I got a lot of energy. You know, and sometimes it's misplayed. And he used to always tell me, just relax. It's the first inning. We're going to be okay. And I used to ask him, and I'm a guy that's going to have to, I asked a lot of questions. Like, I'll never forget the first time I was with him, we're going to play Fullerton College, it's our rival. And I said to him, hey, man, what are you giving a day off before the game for? We gave him a day off before the game. I go, what are you doing? We got practice. He goes, trust me. We're going to come out and kill them, because if not, the girls will never get another day off again. They all know it. And we came out and we scored 10 runs in the first inning and beat them up, right? I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, just really being in the moment. I had a lot of good mentors. He's one of them. My dad was my first coach. You know, he was hard as heck on me, but, you know, he loved you. He just wanted you to good things. And I had, you know, coaching under Brad Pickler and Mike Smith, who was the Ole Miss coach last year, and now he's at NSR Recruiting Services. You know, when I took the Hope job, I asked those two guys, besides my wife, what do you guys think? And they both said, well, you're stupid enough to think you can turn it around. So, yeah, go for it. And you're going to turn it around. And we did. And it just, you know, it really took a culture. You know, I was used to the practice plans being like this. You know, I had, you know, a young coach had my practice plans. And that's the biggest thing I tell all young coaches, make sure you have a practice plan. You know, and I had this practice plan the first day. We couldn't even play catch. Like, I had to change it all. We were playing chase. Right. You know, these were college kids that, you know, no wonder why they won 9 games. You know, and then, oh, coach, we wear practice shirts before the games. I said, you didn't do what we're going to do. We're going to change things around. You won 9 games last year, you know, but we're going to change it around. Sure. And so, you know, I said, you're going to come with your uniform on. We're going to warm up with our uniforms. We don't have locker rooms. And then we're just going to do certain things. We're going to run bases a certain way. We're going to do things. And it was very hard for them because the previous coaching staff, they did whatever they wanted to do. And it was a free-for-all. And then that's why they won 9 games. Right. So in that time period, I just really focused on kind of like a dictatorship to start it off. Because if not, it was going to be a free-for-all. They said, Coach, we have certain ways we get on the bus. I said, you ain't getting on the bus a certain way. Get your butt in the bus and we'll figure it out, you know. And what's funny is the kids that really had a tough time with me, they either quit but they all came back, which is great. When we started getting rolling, they were going, I would still talk to them. I didn't, everybody's got their own reasons why they stopped playing or whatever. But they all come back, and they all, I'll text them once in a while now, and hey, Coach, how's it going? And 2 kids stayed from that team. Actually, 3 kids stayed. They were great kids, and they ended getting the benefits. They won a championship. I had a girl that was going to be a senior, started with me a sophomore, junior year, didn't get to play a lot. Played her freshman year all the time. They only had 11 players back then. Didn't get to played her sophomore year a lot because we had no players too. Junior got to play a little bit less, and she came to me and said, Coach, how can I play? I'm gonna be a senior and I want to play. I said, well, you better learn how to catch because we don't have a catcher. So if you learn how to catch, you will get to play. And lo and behold, she became a great catcher. She entered her starting spot and controlled the pitchers, and it was great. So it's about determination and wanting to do it. And so I just really, the culture's got to be how you said it, right? If you're loosey goosey, then your kids are going to be loosey goosey. Yeah. Right. And at Hope International, we had to really be tough. And basically my first year I did it by myself, like I said earlier, with no assistant coaches.
Well, and I think you might agree on this too because you have kids of your own. I've always believed that kids need that structure. They'll buck it and they'll try to get away from it, but I think once they understand, hey, this routine is saving me a lot of time and energy on things that I shouldn't have to spend a lot of time thinking on. We just do it the same way. We can get a lot more done because we're already planning. So as far as structure on there, I think that's something that all kids need because with softball, it leads me into my next question. A little bit different from baseball as far as there's no minor leagues, there's no professional. So your level is kind of the last chance to polish up these ladies to be young women or whatever direction they want to go in business or if they want to continue on in coaching. And so that's a little different job for you as a softball coach as opposed to a baseball coach.
Yeah, definitely, because it is pretty much it for them, and there's a great story that I had a kid, 2 of my kids now, and all of them have done great things afterwards. They all got good jobs now, working hard, but 2 of the girls went for interviews. One was going to be a paid internship through the Big West Conference. Okay. And she calls me. I wish said she's graduated. I said, hey, good luck in your interview. Hope you kill it. And she goes, thanks, Coach. And she called me. She goes, Coach, you're never going to believe this. In the interview, the commissioner of the Big West who interviewed me said, you have to do me one thing in this interview. We're going to talk about how did you help Coach Blas turn around Hope International University because they weren't very good in softball. She's like, Coach, they knew about us. I said, well, and then she kind of did her story how she, did it, and the guy goes, you're hired on the spot. And the other story is a girl got a job for the Clippers, and it was a girl that played 5 different positions, right, that ended up being the catcher, like I was talking about earlier. And she said, Coach, it was the greatest thing. The guy said, can you adjust? Are you a person that likes to adjust? And she said, I adjust every year. And, and the kids, the best thing I can say is I might be tough on them, but I hope they know they love them because at the end, I'm like a father figure to them. Sure. Right? And it touches me, man. They're like great kids. And, to see them be so successful in life and to come back. And, you always don't see your things right away, right? You see it after the fact, and they come back and say, Coach, thanks a lot. It's so awesome. Appreciate you coaching me. And even the ones that we didn't get along great, I still respect them and still love them to death too, right? And so that's been a blessing to me for coaching for 8 years.
Well, and I think you probably found out too, and I found this out where when you're in the moment of coaching, and sometimes you're harder on some of your players that maybe don't have all the ability as some of the other ones, but you're on them because you don't want them to give up on themselves. And you maybe leave the field thinking, maybe I was a little too rough on them. Sometimes those are always the ones that come back and thank you the most because they don't get it somewhere else.
I had a girl, and she was like in her sophomore year when we weren't very good, and she barely got to play. Junior year, barely played. Senior ended up starting, beating people out. And she's now really close to me now. And she said, Coach, I used to go home crying every day. And her parents said, has he touched you? Has he hit you? They said no. And her parents said, well, then get back out there and prove him. And she says, Coach, I thank you every day because you were on me. But it was in a good way and a loving way. And I talk to her all the time. I talk to a lot of my players a lot now, especially right now to make sure they're all okay. And former players and my players now, just to say, we're still here for you. If you need anything, call me. So truly blessed to be doing this game for so many years and to be learn how to win under Brad, and then being successful myself at Hope and now at Laverne.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. We're probably similar in age, and you start to see that evolution of yourself as a coach. You don't necessarily lose that fire, but you start directing it in a different way, like you had said. And the age of the kids starts to get a little bit farther away from us, and they go from being little brother, little sister to nephew to sons and daughters, and you want more for them after the field than on the field at some point.
That's part of my philosophy. I tell them all the time, I'm going to coach you on the field, we're going to coach you in the classroom, we're going to coach you in life. Because this is it for you for softball. Maybe you get to be a national player or something, but that's even rare, right?
Yeah.
So, it's just been great to go out there and change people's lives. And I think for the most part, that's really what I want to do. My wife is involved. She does my wife does a lot of the team building stuff for us. That's what she does. And that way they can hear somebody else's voice, not mine.
Sure.
And so I've been really blessed. And I got give a shout out to my wife, Michelle. She's the best because, as you know, a coach's family. Yeah. I've never been home this much in my entire life because of this COVID, man. My family's going, where the heck, Dad? You're never home. I never, because I'm always recruiting, working a camp, doing something to get my players that we need to get on campus. But so we're home now, and my daughter probably wants me to go back to school. So is my son.
Yeah, it's interesting because now you're coming from a different level of the NCAA, so. Going forward, and because you're a planner, I'm sure you have, and I kind of like doing this too. Have you already come up with a plan? So let's say, for instance, you find out, hey, July we can meet with our players again, August we can meet with our players again. How do you think you're going to approach that first green light to come back?
Well, if the ones are close to campus, once we get the green light, I can come hit at our facility and those type of things. And then we start school August 31st, and so once we get back in there, we'll get them back in full force. If you really think about this has kind of been, the kids have never had time off, especially in softball. I mean, they're all year in softball. So them having time off is probably really crazy for them, right? Yeah. So, their body should be rested. We have a great strength coach at Laverne. He's still doing body workouts with them. And so I have been thinking about what we're going to do. That first team meeting back and getting everybody going again. And who knows, the best part is our sports in the springtime. We get 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks in the fall time, but we don't have to. We got a little leeway time before we actually get going. Right. And so just to get them back on campus is going to be great. And get back in the field, man. When we left the field, it was March 11th and it was pouring rain at that time. I barely took my tarp off 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Because we were told leave campus and don't come back. And I got permission to go on campus, and they were like, "What do you mean your tarp's still?" I said, "Well, it rained and we got told to leave." And so the field was great shape though still, but so it's just I'm itching right now to go work camps and to do these things, and things are going to change because it's looking like the Division 1 and 2s might not be able to get a recruiting period started. There's some things, people saying that they're going to not go all the way till August. So if that happens, what's going to really happen in recruiting in the next couple of years? Yeah. Because are they just going to use this transfer portal, which a lot of people are doing now? So there's a lot of questions going on in the NCAA for Division 1 and 2 schools. Yeah,
that's where I was thinking about you and some of the other Division 1, 2, 3s, because now it's kind of, we're making a plan, but I don't know how that plan is going to change by month. Yeah. We don't play until the spring, but we do most of our prep in the fall and in the winter. And so how is that going to change? If there's no tournaments and there's no recruiting, then how do I do that? When can I get these girls that I'm recruiting on campus?
The rumor is that Las Vegas, Nevada's going to open up. So camps are going to start going there. Arizona's going to open up, which they kind of already are. There's going to be some camps and stuff there. So I might be a traveler this summer because at Division 3 we can still we don't have the restrictions that Division 1 and 2 have. Right. So Division 1 is no recruiting right now. Division 2 is supposed to be on your home facility only. With the Cal State system and the UC system supposedly going online next year in the fall time, it's going to be really crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's even going to change by state to state right now the way it looks like. And again, even that, as we say this now, we could leave and turn the news on, it'd be totally different. So for you right now, and I'm assuming it's been a lot of online recruiting, have you had a lot of conversations with prospective recruits? Have you done a lot of phone calls, Zoom meetings?
A lot of phone
FaceTime?
calls, a lot of emails back and forth. The 2020 class is already set for us. I'm going to add a couple pieces in. I got a couple kids transferring, so we'll have about 12 kids coming in. I recruit kind of differently. I'm not a guy that wants to recruit the 21s and 22s and 23s yet.
Okay.
I like to go year by year and see what our needs really are.
Sure.
Because there's still really a lot of good players out there. You know, but this is the class right now, the 21 class, and the 22 class is going to kind of be hurt right now.
Right.
Because we don't know what's going to happen. If they aren't seen all summer long, a Division I coach is not going to, well, let me take you.
Yeah.
I've never seen you play. You know, so, and those guys, a lot of those programs have their classes are done already. So there's so many great softball players out there, especially in Southern California. I mean, I got a late start in recruiting last year. Didn't start until I got the job August 1st in recruiting.
Right.
And we got in 10 great players coming in.
Yeah.
You know, and pitcher, catcher, you know, infielders, outfielders, speed. We don't have a lot of speed, but we got speed now coming. So, that's been kind of a blessing. So it's always been the way I recruit. I'm not a guy that needs to look for the next 2 years. I'm kind of looking for 21s right now. I'll email the 22s back and say, hey, you know, hold on. I got you on the radar, but I got to see you play. You know?
Sure.
So I'll get out there, hopefully the 21s, and get to see them play this summer a little bit.
Well, it's interesting when you're talking about recruiting. I was talking to another coach and saying that, you know, even as coaches, we try not to get in a rut, but we get in a rut. Like everyone is in this situation. Our comfort zone has been shaken. Things that we normally do, we've been told we can't do, and we can't do them at this time or that time. So now what I like about it, I think, as a coach, is it's forced me to be more creative.
Yes.
You know, you've had to go outside of your normal recruiting and comfort. So I think that part of it is another way to challenge yourself and create a challenge for you as a coach to motivate you and maybe learn some different things. So, you know, you being a positive guy, what's something that you've tried to keep positive and maybe put yourself in a position where you have to change your normal routine as far as a coach?
I think it's just going to be able to deal with the situation. Especially, you know, you come back to school, people are still going to be scared. They're still going to be nervous.
Yeah.
You know, we got to have a little bit more compassion. And I got to be a little bit more open myself. And I'm finding that out being at home with my wife, my son, and my daughter.
Sure.
You know, for every day now. You know.
Yeah.
So they're not used to dad being around. So now dad's home 24/7.
Yeah.
So
well, your patience has improved.
Yes, your patience has really improved, and having a teenage son and daughter really makes it better. So just trying to be open more. You know, there's different ways to do things, and just trying to listen. Probably be more of an active listener.
Yeah. I personally, I understand the tragedy, and I see everything that's going on, how it's impacting people's lives. And, you know, fortunately, I've been blessed that it hasn't, you know, come too close to home. But I've been trying to see the positive in all of this, as I'm sure you are. I think there's a lot of changes that probably needed to be made, and now everyone's going to be forced to make them so we can continue to move forward and keep people safe and keep people comfortable. Like you said, just because they open things up, you're going to have different levels of comfort coming back to school or kids interacting with you, and that might change the dynamic of your whole program and how you go about things.
And I think it's going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's, you know, really probably nervous about this, you know, and so it's just going to be a learning tool for all of us. And I, you know, that's one of the things I'll talk to them before we, you know, step on the field. We're going to learn from everybody.
Sure.
And we all got to make adjustments but it's going to be totally different, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing the Korean Baseball League, you know, the KBL, they're doing things, you know, and the umpires got masks on, and the players did have masks, but I think they're off this week.
It's tough, tough to run.
Tough to run, right? So, but the dugouts, they all had masks and stuff. But, you know, I think it's just going to finally have to get back to it. You know, I mean, we can't hide forever.
Sure.
You know, and so we gotta go out there. And,
I actually think it'll bring teams closer because you again, that absence makes you grow fonder, because we haven't had that network that I use, and softball, baseball, and travel teams and whatever. Your normal routine becomes part of your family, and for your girls and coaches, and they haven't had that and that social interaction, you know, maybe through FaceTime and things like that, but it's different. So I think
way different, personal to the Zoom and all those things.
Yeah.
So I just can't wait to get back. I mean, I'm itching. I just want to get back as soon as I can, start working on my field and start getting with our kids and just, making it better for them.
So, question I have kind of on a personal level, doing the one-on-one training that I do and the group training and team training. So you've been involved in softball, and having softball trainers in our facility, I noticed that softball players tend to focus and be more intentional and be more driven at a younger age. I know it's female, male is different, but is there something about the nature of softball coaches or the competitiveness that you notice is different from younger levels in baseball and softball?
Well, maybe it's because they know, like we talked about earlier, that they know that there's nothing really after college. So maybe that's a factor. I know that the girls are pretty dialed in, and they're like, they're starting to play travel ball at 8 and 10 years old now.
Yeah.
I mean, whereas baseball, you're still probably playing little league, right? For the most part.
Right.
Or pony league or whatever it is. Then you probably, right before you get to high school, you probably go to travel ball.
Sure.
So I think maybe that's it. And the travel ball thing has gotten so big. The travel ball thing right now, who knows what's going to happen? They're just talking about maybe regionalizing it. So just in California, the California teams, they'll have one in California, they'll have one at different spots. So
sure.
It's tough. It's going to be tough for everybody if we don't get to see them play. I'm a person, all the video in the world is great, right? I mean, who's ever going to send me a bad video?
Right.
I mean,
it's edited, like our our show.
Edited and things of that nature. So for me, I want to see them in live action.
Sure.
I want to see them fail because I want to see how you're going to react.
Right.
Because in our game, failure is the biggest key.
Right, exactly.
You could hit 300 and you're a freaking good player.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, that's 30%.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to see how a player reacts after they strike out. I want to see a pitcher react after they get a ball bombed off them because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Those are the things I want to see. And you can't see that in videos.
Right.
And like I was telling somebody on a Zoom call the other day, I said, everybody can hit front toss. If you can't hit front toss, boy, right? I want front toss to be out of the park every time.
Yeah.
Right? It's front toss, So that's kind of what I like to see. So hopefully I can get out and see some games coming up here because I'm itching.
Now, for you, do you already have a tentative schedule for tournaments and showcases from what you've
where I'm going to go to?
Yeah.
From what I've been told, kind of got a tentative schedule. And now that Division Ones can't go right now, they've made some adjustments. So people are going to probably want me and my coaching staff to get out a little bit more. So I'll send some coaches out too to really kind of scam everything, and we can cram as much as we can in and see as many players as we can for the 2021 class.
Now the camps, I'm sure that's been a big hit as far as having to readjust those or having to.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's interesting because that is a big for softball, I know, and those are for you especially. It's a good chance for you to get all of that information that you want, but for everybody too. And I think for the kids, it's a great learning experience, and not being able to come on that campus and just kind of understand the importance or the magnitude of this university, and especially for you. Your field is a phenomenal facility. I mean, it's gorgeous, and it's a selling point in itself to come and be able to be on that field every day. Speaking about that, one of the questions I had, is there something that you would like to maybe upgrade or modify or improve at your facility?
If nobody's been out to the University of Laverne softball and baseball facility, it's probably better than some Division I schools. I mean, you've been around, right, Ernie? It's probably better. We got a full-scale locker room. We have stands. We have a press box. We have a huge batting cages. We don't share with baseball. They get their own. So what I'd probably like to change, I love our facility. Because at Hope International, I didn't have a facility.
Right.
So we were at Fullerton College for 2 years. Then I convinced them to go to this one park that nobody used. It was kind of our own. Probably the biggest thing would be the fencing in the outfield.
Okay.
It's a temporary fencing, 6 foot high temporary fencing, because the city of Laverne in the past used to use it for slow pitch. So that fencing comes out. So more of a permanent thing, I could say. If I was going to prove anything, it'd be that.
Okay.
But updating our banners, that's kind of a big thing for the alumni.
Sure. I
want to bring the alumni back, and we had a great alumni day when they came out and gave them a T-shirt, and they were so happy. And but that's probably the biggest thing I want to improve is probably the fencing and the updating the banners. But if you've seen our facility, it's.
Well, I was curious for two reasons. One, because it is a gorgeous facility, and it'd be really hard unless you were an actual day-to-day coach to find something that needed to be upgraded on that field. the second part of that question was at Hope International without facilities, because I've worked at schools where we didn't have anything either. Top of the creativity change. What were some things that you had to do to kind of get your work in with limited access to facilities? What were some tricks or some things that you
the first 2 years we were at Fullerton College, like I said, at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, when the time changed, I'd forget time change, right? And most classes for them, they had to be at class by 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So I had an hour and a half
right.
of practice, really. So if the sun wasn't up yet, we did our stretching and our running in the dark.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And if it wasn't dark, if it was light but not play catch, we'd go run a set of bases, the routine that we do every day. And they used to go, Coach, I said, well, you can play catch or get hit with the ball or run a set of bases. You can see the white base, right? So that's kind of what I had to do, adjusting a lot there. And then being off the field and just not being my own field, to be able to rake it, to drag it.
Sure.
At Hope, at Fullerton College, and at Baston Cherry College, at Baston Cherry Park, that's where we ended up going for my last 2 years. We drug the field by hand. Okay? Took the draggers out, had two draggers, and usually I would do it before practice would start, right? And at the end of the day, or at the end in between games, I had the two major league ones. We had the two draggers. So infielders had the middle of the field, outfielders had the outside of the field, and we did that. So, but taking pride in your field.
Sure.
I mean, our kids now do everything to the field.
Yeah.
I said, you guys have the greatest facility around. We're not going to mess it up. And they laugh because we pick up leaves, we pick up trash, we pick up everything. I don't depend on. I tell them we don't depend on nobody. We do it ourselves. Sure. And but so that was the biggest thing, having to adapt to people's schedules too. Like I said, 6 to 7:30, coach, we got to go to class. Being at small schools.
Sure.
And then just not being our own facility. Where
Right.
at Laverne, I don't like the way it's done. I can go drag it myself. I can go spike it, and that's been key. Like I've had a couple of players go, Coach, it's a little harder. Don't worry, we're going to spike it. And we spike it. Oh, thanks, Coach. That's perfect. But I could never do that before,
right?
Because I didn't have the facility to do it. So,
well, it's interesting how as you're talking coach to coach, I'm seeing all those as opportunities for teaching.
Yes,
because the difference between taking pride in something that's not really yours and taking for granted a gorgeous facility like Laverne. You have to work just as hard to keep your players now to not take that gorgeous field, because there's some other girls that you could bring in that, hey, we didn't even have a field.
Yes.
Or hey, we didn't have a screen to work with, or hey, we had to meet here in the dark. And it gives you a great snapshot of overcoming adversity and still remembering your priority of succeeding, and then having everything taken where you don't really have to work on that. It's all here. Now you just have to go out and represent it.
Oh, we had to teach people how to sweep, because we had sweeper duty. We had drag duty. We had rake duty. We had people that had to go pick up. At Laverne, the wind blows.
Yeah. And
we have an outside cage, but there's no windscreen on the batting cages.
Yeah.
So a lot of things blow in there, right?
Yeah.
They'd have to go pick it up by hand and throw things away, because it's about pride.
Yeah.
And even that's the one thing I instilled when I came to Hope and then brought it to Laverne is, this is your field. This is what we're going to do it. Make it the best that you can. And if it's, so our kids took pride in it. Now they're taking pride in it at Laverne. I mean, they know how to rake now. They know how to sweep. We got them watering, so they know how to do it. They take the tarp out. They, put the fence in, So that's been a really good blessing. And, the locker room, I said, hey, the locker room needs to be spotless. And when it's not spotless and coach goes in there, I take pictures of people's locker and I sent it to them and said, please make sure this is done by the time practice starts. And then they'll take a picture back and send it. And all I say is thank you. I don't blast them out there, but I say, keep the locker room clean.
Yeah, some of those things, it's nice to be able to have the leeway to do that at your level, because you understand the value of it.
Right.
And again, like we talked about for softball, there is no minor leagues or, professional. There is a professional level, but it's not as accessible to everyone as it is for baseball, for lack of a better. But at the high school level, one of the things that I remember doing as you were talking about that, and some of the guys may remember it a little differently or not as happy as I do, but I would have the guys put their game uniforms on. And we had a phenomenal groundskeeper. He would always make us a priority and take care of the field and ask us how we want it and pick up for the guys. And, he would do different things that weren't in his job description just because he loved the boys and he liked being around it. And so what we did on Fridays, minimum once a month, I would have him leave me a bag of trash bags. Guys would put their game uniforms on, and we would just walk the campus because the trash cans at a high school are always overflowing.
Always.
And just like at home, you have those teenagers that keep piling on. We're playing that Jenga, so, it's not full yet.
Yeah.
And so we would go through the campus, and we would pick up the trash and fill up the trash bags, and we'd go all the way to the end where the big dumpsters were and throw it away. And some of the kids would squeal, and I'd explain to them, look, your uniforms are a sense of pride. You earned those uniforms, just like anyone in the military, like a police officer, like a firefighter. You earned that uniform. You should be proud to wear it. Second of all, this is your school. For 4 years, 3 years, whatever the school was, it was your home. So why would I be okay with trash on the floor of my house? Well, who better to do it than the representatives of the school? And why do you need another reason than to help the gentleman out that takes care of your field? It's not too much to ask that you do something in return for him, because he never complains about cleaning up the dugout after you guys or cleaning up any mess you leave. And so they got it after a while. And it was funny because a lot of them were telling me that, hey, I saw these guys throwing trash on the ground and I told them to pick it up. Well, you should.
Yeah.
You wouldn't let them come to your house and, put their feet on the furniture or let them throw stuff on the floor. Well, this is the same thing. So those lessons, I think sometimes that they don't let you instill in players might hurt more than it may harm them, and I think it's good that you're doing things like that with those young ladies.
And I think with me and my coaching staff, I tell all of us, we got to lead by example. If we're not doing it,
yeah,
they're not going to do it.
Right.
So our kids see me before practice, after practice. When I got there, the bullpens had weeds and it looked like the Sahara Desert. And there were some extra dirt mounds in the back, like just beautiful.
Sure.
Beautiful dirt, like piled up.
Yeah.
And I said to the maintenance guy I said, hey, what are you going to do with that dirt that's in each bullpen? He goes, well, we're just going to leave it there. I said, like mounds behind the pitchers? I said, hey, do you have any big containers? And he found me 2 big containers. And I put them, and I got the GA facilities guy, and me and him shoveled for 2-3 straight days. We shoveled the dirt into these big containers. We cleaned the bullpens out. We put more of the nice dirt on there. We clean them now. Our pitchers have to take care of the bullpens and the regular mounds. And,
sure.
And he used to tell me that the grad assistant said, man, coach, nobody did this before. They just told us to leave it like this. I said, no, we're going to make sure it's nice and perfect. But our kids do it all, and they know. And sometimes you got to get on with it. Hey,
sure.
Remember, girls, your facility. And hopefully now with all this going on, they're really going to appreciate it because, I mean, like I said, our facility is, oh man, I'm like spoiled. I went from nothing to like big time. So it's a great feeling, and the school's been great in that.
Yeah, I mean I think if as a player, if you look forward to coming out to a nice facility or a nice clubhouse or dugout, whatever it is, it just gives you that one extra kick or motivation to come out because you from again being at a place where you didn't have all that, it's tough because that can be a little demoralizing at times, and it's part of your culture because this is your home and you're inviting other teams into your home, and it's intimidating because another coach knows walking in. He looks at that and he says, man, he's meticulous about this. I know he's got everything else as far as X's and O's ready to go. And so that's I think that's a big thing, and I really am happy to hear that because I think that's something that we've talked about with other coaches in here for when you have recruits that come in, hopefully they're evaluating you as well. Because, as a parent, I want to send my player somewhere where he's going to learn and grow. The softball may or may not come to an end sooner than not, but we're here for the whole learning experience. And if I have a player that takes care of everything on the field, then I'm 100% sure they're going to do that in the classroom as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And that's the thing, too, at Laverne. Our student GPA was really high this year. I don't have the exact number, but it was super, super high. So we had 7 kids make honor roll like 3.5 or higher, which was like awesome. So really proud of that, and we keep stressing that. And because when the biggest goal is to get your degree. Sure. One of the best parts about Laverne is you can get your degree in 3.5 years, and then they can play their senior year without having the spring of the senior year not going to class. So that's been a kind of a good thing too. So. But it just the whole thing goes back is about setting expectations for these kids now, and why set why set the bar low? Let's set it high and see if we can get to there.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of do when I try to go to places. I try to set the bar high for them. Don't accept mediocrity. Mediocrity doesn't get you anywhere. Right. Now, especially nowadays, coming up here now with all this, when jobs start opening back up, there's gonna be a lot of competition for jobs. Right. People are gonna be battling for these jobs, and so let's set that level high here. And then if we don't get it all the way, that's okay. But don't just settle here because you're just going to reach to here, right?
Yeah.
If you're a 250 hitter and you're just going to be at 250 hitter, you're going to do what 250 hitters do, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to get to that 300 level or above, you're going to be in the cages every day. You're going to be T work, and all those things. So.
Well, and that's interesting that you say that too, because again, I go back to our proximity and age, but you probably notice having teenage kids or younger kids that everyone gets a trophy generation. And then now here we get this pandemic thrown at us. And like you said, there's a lot of people out of work. I mean, an enormous amount of people out of work. And going back, there's going to be a lot of people reevaluating the jobs that they had in the past because one, that job disappeared the first week. Or if I'm an owner of a business, hey, I really don't need this many people to do this job. We learned how to do this at home, online, and I don't need an office this size. So things are going to change, and I'm going to have to change with them. So I may not get the job that I'm looking for right off the bat, but that adversity, I can give up, or I can learn from that, and I can try to grow and get better. And so that's one of the things as a coach you're trying to instill in them as well.
Like I said, I always like to do things by example. And I'll tell you a little personal story about myself. I met my wife in college. She would never go out with me. Okay, but I kept going for 10 years. For 10 years, we were friends. We'd say hi. We this and this that. Finally, one day, I just said, after 10 years, I hadn't seen her in 3 years, I said, hey, I've been in love with you. Let's get married. She said, let's do it. So, it's called perseverance, right?
Sure.
You just keep going, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened. In 21 years, this August will be our 21st wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been awesome, right?
Yeah.
And so I knew from the time I met her that, that's the one. And she was a former softball player. Her dad was a men's fast pitch player. Just so weird story, but if I didn't persist and keep going, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the values that my parents instilled in me.
Sure.
You want it, go get it.
Yeah.
And I try to instill it to my players. If you want it, you got to go get it.
Yeah.
My kids too. You want something, go get it. And I think the kids nowadays, because they've always gotten a trophy, like we talked about, I think they're afraid of rejection.
Sure.
And that's what I really try to instill in my own two kids. It's okay if you fail. But get back up and do it again.
Yeah.
I said, I chased your mom for 10 years, and 10 years she said, no, right? And same thing as our athletes now. Go out there, try something new. Even though you've done it this way your whole life,
sure,
maybe try something different to get a little better. And if it messes up, then we go back and we can adjust.
Yeah.
But do things differently. And it makes you a better, well-rounded person, I think, too. So that's my biggest thing is, I want them to be able to adapt. This baseball, you have to adapt all the time on the fly. Softball, you got to adapt all the time on the fly. It's not, okay, base hit, go to first, go to second. There's always things happening and moving pieces. So it's about creating that.
Yeah.
I like to kind of create chaos at practice.
Sure.
Like, let's go, in, out, and let's not mess around, because in the game situation, it's going to be, and then in the game, you're going to be super calm with it, right? You're going, okay, I know what I'm going to do here. We went over all those things. So that's kind of like we try to do it. Where I've been at, those places I've been at.
It's interesting you'd mentioned that too, because earlier I was talking pitching with one of my coaches, and we were discussing how it's hard now to find ways to get your pitchers to understand the adversity and embrace it. To make a really quality, mentally strong pitcher, they have to go through adversity.
Yes. That's like I was telling you earlier. I like to see when pitchers get hit. Hey, okay.
Yeah.
And when we were at Cypress College, we used to see kids strike out and get lit up, and we'd say, let's see how they react. And we'd take that kid, and everyone goes, what are you guys doing? And we're one of the top programs in the country at that, and he still is. The guy had a 48-0 season the year after I left, of course. They went 48-0. But, those are just the things that, you got to do. You got to have adversity in life.
Yeah.
It's okay to fail. It's how you respond to the failure.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think we missed out in this group of kids. Because we gave them a trophy.
Yeah.
In my family, I felt bad for my kids because you didn't get a trophy.
Yeah.
Hey man, there's a winner and a loser. You didn't win, so
Yeah. But you remember as a kid that drive, watching that other guy walk away with that trophy.
you were
and
so mad.
Yeah, you were so
right?
mad that you.
Back in the day, the Bad News Bears. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
When Tanner, I don't want the second place trophy.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah, it builds that fire in you, and it creates that drive to want to succeed, and it also helps them understand that, hey, especially in coaching and recruiting, sometimes kids will take that. I mean, we could line up 10 coaches and we could watch the same player, and 3 of them are going to think one way, 3 the other, and then so on and so on. But it's not a reflection of you. It's not a personal, I don't like you. There's something that I may be doing you a favor because you're not going to get what you need from my program. So I want you to go out and find that program that's going to work for you and get you where you want to go. And right away, I think sometimes kids tend to go to that hanging their head that it's me he doesn't like.
No. And I tell them all the time, if you got a lot of energy and you want to get after things, then we might be the right program for you. But if you want to sulk when you make a mistake, or a coach gets on you a little bit because you make a mistake, I tell my players all the time, and that I've never been diagnosed, but I know I am. I'm ADHD, and I tell them all the time, I probably forgot about me yelling at you for making a mistake.
Yeah.
It's over and done with.
Yeah.
And I tell them that in the very first meeting. If I get on you, it's okay. It's over and done with.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's get better at it. Let's learn from that. And all of our teams, once they adapt that, of my philosophies of coaching, then we've really gelled.
Sure.
As each program I've taken over, from being at Cypress, even the high school, to they've kind of gotten a little bit better, and now, like I said, when you get older, you change your coaching style,
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned before with the program, we initially just started having guests come in, and now as I start talking to different coaches, I like the fact that, we're all kind of connected in this coaching network, baseball network, softball network. And I have no doubt that you're also one of those coaches that would not have a problem just telling a player, look, I would love to have you here, but here's where you really need to be, or this is a position that might be better for you, or you know what, you might want to take a look at this other school because it's best for the player.
I think that's the number one thing we got to start doing with kids now. We got to be honest with them.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying that is look at the transfer portal, if you can look at it for softball. I think as of last week, there was over 750 kids in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Well, you went there for a reason, and now you're leaving.
Yeah.
And maybe that is you're going to get a trophy. I recruited you now, but you didn't push to get better. Right? And when you get to the next level, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Everyone's peaches and cream. When
Sure.
But then when you get there, it's work. And going to college, and it doesn't matter if it's Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, JC, California JC, or other JC. It's a job.
Yeah.
And so, but in a good way, and that's why I love the Division 3 level. It tries to be a well-rounded person, from the weight room to the classroom to the field, having a job. But those kids, the transfer portal is huge right now.
Yeah.
And and it's probably going to get bigger next year.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you point that out, because that's something that we had actually just discussed with Eric in here, because Eric was kind of unique. I was telling him because he's in that coaching area now where he transitioned at the beginning of the showcase kind of generation, and he knew right away he wanted to go to Sioux Falls and play D2 baseball. When they recruited him, made him an offer, he went up, visited, took it. And one of the things he told me, he says, his father said, you committed to this school, you're going to graduate from there. And I said, now being a high school coach, it's pretty much free reign.
Yep.
You can go to any, I'm coming here, but it's not working out. It's not my fault. Coach has it in for me. The program doesn't, whatever it is. And at the JC level, you probably run into girls as you're recruiting that they've been to, and they don't understand that it's not always about them.
Exactly.
Maybe some of the things they were trying to tell you to improve on are truthful. Maybe they were trying to help you and not hurt you as far as giving you that criticism.
Well, I always like to see the kids that jump. Went to 3 high schools. Went to 3 colleges. You're going to probably come to me and you're probably going to jump again, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and everybody's different nowadays. My wife and I are old school.
Sure.
And my son went to Servite High School, which is a great high school. It's in Anaheim. He played football. And they were going through a coaching change, and kids were bailing out, transferring left and right. He said, Mom, Dad, I think I'm going to transfer. And my wife and I said, the heck you are. You're not transferring. You'll go whoever coaches you. Whoever they name as his coach, you'll be there.
Yeah.
we didn't come here for football.
Right.
We came here, you know. And so now it's pretty funny because my kids now know that's you can't quit.
Yeah.
So I mean, he just got a job at UPS this summer.
Sure.
And unloader. And if you ever see those guys
Yeah.
are. And they told him 7 guys are probably gonna quit of the 9. And one guy goes, "Man, my parents said I couldn't quit." And my son said, "Oh God, I can't quit either. My parents will kill me if I quit." You know, and he got it now, right?
Yeah.
And I try to instill it to everybody. I never want nobody to quit.
Yeah.
Just keep playing. It'll work out. Like I tell all my recruits, Ernie, if you can hit, I'll find a spot for you.
Yeah.
So you better learn how to hit, right?
Yeah. Make my job hard.
Make me take you out of the lineup.
Yeah.
And I try to tell our players all the time, you got these beautiful kids, come every day and hit. You know, don't give up.
Right.
You're going to get a chance. You know, that's one of my things that my old assistant coach at Hope used to say, God, Coach, you give everybody a chance to prove themselves. I go, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
You know, and then she's now the head coach at Hope, and she does say things. She goes, man, Coach, you were right. You got to give them a chance to either go for it or not go for it, but you better be ready to go.
Yeah, and it's tough when you're young to realize that's the way that you're supposed to view it. You know, I'm giving you every opportunity to prove me that you belong here. I'm not trying to find ways to cut you. I'm trying to find ways to keep you.
Yes.
But show me. Give me something to pull onto.
You know, and some of the kids that don't have the most talent, but they give you 100%, I'll take those kids all day long because they just go after it.
Yeah.
Right? And I never was the greatest player, but I worked my tail off to get my playing time in football. You know, and so, you know, I don't know about it in baseball now, but in softball, I want versatility. When I go looking for a player or in the recruiting, I want to know if they can play second, short, outfield, maybe catch if she had to or something, right? Where I'm just a second baseman. Well, I can't just use a second baseman.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I only play first, Coach. Everyone can play first. You know, I take my shortstops at Cypress. We used to take our best shortstops. We'd recruit 3 of them and move one to second, one to first base, and one to, if we had an extra one to third base.
Sure.
So, you know, I think that's what, be versatile. If I could tell any kids be anything, just be versatile and play every position.
So on that note, being that you've been in coaching for so long, have you noticed kind of a swing in athleticism? I think initially, going back maybe 20 years, you did have a lot of athletic people coming in because there was so much diversity in sports before the year-round anything. And now there's so much focus on the hitting, the pitching, that being that positional player, then when you get to your level, oh, he's got 2 catchers that are better than me, but I don't know how to play another position.
Right.
Because I'm not athletic enough. I didn't focus on my speed, or from the time I'm in high school, I'm at second base, so I can only make that 40-foot throw.
Yeah.
You know, now coaches are looking for athletes. Your job as a coach, my job as a coach, I can teach you how to hit. I can make you a better fielder.
Exactly.
But I need athletes.
Yeah, and that's what I tell everybody. Like in all these Zoom, what are you looking for, Coach? I'm looking for athletes.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's the biggest thing I tell you. I go out and I tell our coach, what position are we looking for? I said, we're looking for the best athletes that can play 5 positions. We'll focus in on like pitcher and a catcher, and you just find the best athletes we can. And since we've taken that role, it's been great.
Yeah.
You know, our players have been good, and I just want to play kids that want to play hard. That's play hard and can just go after it and do whatever they can do.
Yeah.
And if you can get those kids, man, those are the best ones. They're going to be successful in life too.
Sure. Yeah, because they're going to have to adapt. I want an opportunity, and that's all I'm looking for. And it's funny because as you were talking about recruiting, so many times I get players where maybe I'll give them a number and I'll say, well, give him a call. He told me that they've got some holes and they need some guys, and you're looking for a place to play. He might give you an opportunity. Well, do you think I can play there? I don't know. You decide that.
Yeah.
He's going to give you the same opportunity as everybody else. Now, what you do with that opportunity is up to you. I don't know a coach in the country that's going to say, absolutely, you know, Coach Ramirez, come in, we're giving you the starting third base job, no problem, just show up game day. Doesn't happen.
I look at that too because when I first started teaching high school, I was interviewing the principal, and I don't think they really had a spot for me at Paraclete High School. And he said, hey, Dennis, can you teach this subject? I said, he was a priest. He said, hey, Father, you got a book? And he goes, yeah. I go, then I'm your man. Hire me. I got home that night. He called me. He says, you're hired. I go, all right, where's the book?
Yeah.
And that's how my teaching career really kind of got going. And,
Yeah.
And so it's about adapting, right?
Yeah.
It's being very versatile. When I played men's fast pitch, I played third base, second base, caught all the time, play the outfield. I'd say, hey, I had 6 gloves, whatever they had to play, I had to play, right? Because I wanted to just make sure I was playing, right?
Yeah.
Being a younger player, most of the guys were older, I had to find a spot to play.
Yeah, I'm just happy to be a part of it, and then I can work from there. Yeah, and a lot of players don't understand that, and we've talked with other coaches before. You probably experienced this in the recruiting end. Most kids now, and we call it the ESPN teams. They know them. Everybody does. They're always on TV. They're always on the standings and things like that. Well, I want to go to that school. Why? Well, they're in the top 10. Okay, so what makes you think they need you? They're already there. What can you bring to them? I like to look for the players that have a little bit of that swagger to say, you know what, I can help put you over the top. Or, you know what, I can take this team. I don't care where it's at. I'm going to make it better. I'm going to help pull other people up. And again, that's a tough find for younger players. But I think for a lot of kids that might be listening out there, we talked about that fear of failure. Don't be afraid to take on a challenge, even if it's as a player.
I mean, think about it. Look at the NFL draft. Most of the guys that make it in the NFL are the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round draft picks.
Yeah.
The first 1, 2, and 3, maybe they don't do it because they don't work as hard.
Right.
These guys, they got to prove it, right?
Yeah.
And so if you look at the statistics, they're the ones who make it the longest in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, and I'm going to ask you about this now. When you have the players that are the early commits, trying to explain to them that there is some satisfaction to having that out of the way, so to speak, but there's also responsibility for you. What do you think that school is expecting or asking of you? Some of the girls that maybe you may have spoken to, or you may think they're on the verge of signing early or committing early, is there any advice, or is there anything that you might say to them as far as what the expectations would be if I was an early commit?
Don't stop working hard just because you committed. Because once you stop working hard just because you committed, doesn't mean this person's not going to work up and catch you. And I think that's what's happening. I sign, I'm going to wherever you're going to go, and then they kind of not work as hard, right?
Sure.
I got my scholarship already. This person passes them up. This person then goes to the transfer portal because they're no longer playing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's really happening. My suggestion is don't stop working. Get better.
Yeah.
If you're a 400 hitter, be a 410 hitter. If you're not a great base runner, become a better base runner.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing I try to tell all kids. Don't rely solely on your coaches when you're base running. We have to let them have their instincts a little bit.
Sure.
I'll give you the perfect story. We were down 3-2 or 2-1 in a game. There was a runner at second base, bottom of the 7th, and this was this year. And there was a pass ball, So I'm turning around and looking at her to stop her, and she used her instincts like I tell them. And she went, and there was 2 outs. She went all the way around from second. She pulled a Kurt Gibson and scored. Head first slide, safe. We tied it up. Next one, we win the game. If someone gets on base double, we win the game.
Sure.
But if she would have just done what I was, we'd have, who knows if we would have got that next hit.
Sure.
To tie the game, right? And so that's the biggest thing is let your athleticism and let your instincts make you a great player. Because I told the people asked me, what? I said, hey, I got to give her credit. I was stopping her. She said, And so I think that's the biggest thing I really try to tell our athletes. It's okay to fail.
Yeah.
But if who wants to be a robot and go 60 feet? Or for you guys, 90 feet.
Right.
I mean, if the ball's hit in front of you, you don't have to go. But if the ball's at the right field and you're at second base, you're going, right?
Yeah.
Or you're at first base, you're going to third base. So we really teach that a lot to be really aggressive on the base pass. And if we get thrown out, we get thrown out. But they're going to learn from that, right?
Right. Well, and that's another great point you make. I mean, that's a great story because you can think back to times when you were younger. That failure, I don't ever remember that coming into play.
No.
I knew maybe if I was going to do something, a dive or run through a sign, that I may get yelled at the end. But, hey, here's a chance to win.
Yes.
Here's a chance to be successful. Here's a chance to help our team. It may or may not come out the right way, but it feels like it's the thing to do.
And she did it.
Yeah.
And she was successful.
Yeah.
And even if she would have been thrown out for the third out, I would have been okay because I tell our kids, if you hesitate, don't go.
Exactly.
And she didn't have. I'm like this. There's physically, you see the video. I'm like this, and she goes, and then I'm going down the line with her. Let's go. Let's go. If you're gonna do it, let's go. So, But it's it's instincts, and you don't really see that a lot anymore.
Yeah. And I think maybe you don't see it because the coaches don't allow it. One of the things that we do with our summer program, we're not real stringent on it. We don't play a lot of out-of-the-state games or big tournaments and things like that. But I've noticed in maybe the past 5-6 years, I've spent more time disconnecting the no from my players, talking to them. Well, my coach says don't do this. My coach says don't do that. He doesn't want me. He doesn't want me. Okay, well, what can you do?
Yeah, and I get a lot of that too.
Yeah.
And I said, this is the University of Verne. This is the way we do it.
Yeah.
If you go to your travel ball guy, no problem.
Yeah.
But when you come to the University of Verne, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So that's you hit it right on the button, But I call them robots.
Yeah.
I go to first base. I can't make a turn to look at two. I mean, I tell my player, what are you going back to the base for when the outfielder still has the ball? What if they bobble it? You could be at second base, right? And you don't have to be the fastest runner. You just have to be smart out there.
Right.
And so I think that's one of the things that they were starting to feel of, I can go first to third.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. And just different things. I'm looking for a double every time I get a base hit. So I just can't wait to get back to those times, man.
Yeah.
I'm going crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting because it's a different philosophy in coaching. And as we were talking about that, I remember a movie. Eric and I were talking about movies earlier, and we're at that generation where we may have seen a lot of movies in the past, and you reference them to your kids, and they kind of look at you like, "Oh, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay."
Yeah. Oh, I get that all the time.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, Coach? I go, "Oh, never mind. That was an older movie."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about the movie. You may have seen it, Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck.
Yeah.
And there's a point in the game where he hits a ball in the gap, and the guy's on first, and he rounds second, he stops and comes back, and he has to slam on the brakes, round and first. He comes back. He says, "What's going on?" He says, "Better to save face than to get thrown out at third base. He's going to stay at second."
Yeah.
And that's the same thing where you see a lot of these kids. It's like the right play to do is go, because in your mind you know the percentages, but I don't know them exact. But there's a pretty good chance I'm going to make that.
Because they have to field it.
Yeah.
They got to make a good, perfect throw.
Yeah.
It's got to be online.
Yeah.
And now the other girl's got to cut it or catch it, and she's got to make a tag.
Yeah.
That's 5 things they have to do. Mm-hmm. And you have to do one thing.
Yeah.
Get there.
Yeah. And it's just easier to not be blamed than it is to go out on that limb and try.
And you see that a lot. I see that a lot in the travel ball world.
Yeah.
So Coach, I'm sorry. When I go, I'm sorry I struck out today. I go, why? I didn't care if you struck out.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, at Cypress, I saw a kid strike out 3 times.
Yeah.
We ended up taking her, and she was one of our better players.
Yeah.
And people go, she struck out 3 times. You guys still wanted her? I go, yeah. Like you said earlier, we'll fix the hitting.
Yeah.
We'll fix all that stuff. I want to see what you have here mentally, and how your emotion of the game is, and all those things.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that too, because when you go to these showcases, sometimes, we have where the parents will look at it and go, "Wow, he went 4 for 5. He's definitely going to get seen." 4 for 5 if a guy throwing 72.
You're exactly right.
He's supposed to go 4 for 5. He's supposed to go 5 for 5.
It's like front toss, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You should crush front toss.
Yeah. Or you know what? I saw that girl strike out, but I saw her hang in there on a girl with a good rise ball, a girl with a good sink, a girl with a good changeup, a girl with a good fastball. So she just was beat today, but I saw everything I needed to know. I saw everything that tells me she can compete at our level and excel. And sometimes you see those kids that you can just tell there's so many things going through their head because they're told don't. And when you just unlock that, all of a sudden, play. They
become great players.
Yeah.
And those are the kids that we want at Laverne. We want those kids that just are going to get after it. And nothing better than a pitcher says, "Give me the ball, Coach." And those are the kids you look for. You don't see it a lot of times now. Like I said, adversity, right? A pitcher says, back in the day, Oral Hershiser.
Yeah.
If you think about it, when he was playing against the Mets or whatever it was, and he wasn't supposed to be in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And he was warming up.
That's right. It was 88, wasn't it?
88. And
yeah.
Lasorda said, "Oh, Tommy sent me down here to warm up." And they're like, "Okay." And he's warming up and then all of a sudden they said, "What's Hershiser doing?" He said he's ready to go, Coach. And Lasorda, "Oh, bring him in," right?
Yeah.
So that guy, give me the ball.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of kids I love. I was just talking to a player the other day. I'm texting her, and I said, "Hey, she made the Cypress All-Decade team, and then she ended up playing for me at Hope." And I texted her, and she said, "Thanks a lot, Coach." And she said, "It was one of the great. I love playing for you." I said, "No, I love that you were a warrior and you wanted the ball." And she was, "Oh, Coach, that's like I never not wanted the ball."
Yeah.
Those are the kids I love.
Yeah.
I love gamers.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you talk about things like that, it's something that all the kids need to understand, and the parents too, kind of coming up to get to your level. It is about wins and losses, but
Yes.
it's also about development, because at the college level, you're still an educator, whether your classroom is the field or your classroom is in the classroom, because the things that you're going to instill in them are going to carry them through life. They're going to reference back to those. Everyone has a point where they remember how they overcame something or they succeeded. And sometimes it's just having the confidence from someone like you to say, let me have the ball. Even though it didn't work out my way, you believed in me. I believed in myself. It didn't work out this time, but you know what? The next time, I'm going to have that own belief in myself.
And that's the biggest thing, like we were talking about earlier. Just athletes just getting better every day, wanting it, and the passion of, let me in that situation, right? The adversity that you have to have. I want to be up when there's 2 outs and a 2-2 pitch is coming up, or 3-2 pitch is coming up. I'm going to get that hit. We had kids. You're going to find out in the tough times. Who the kids are that you can rely on. When those situations get tough. And those are the kids you love to play. And I love all of our kids, but I was like, when I was telling those stories about the kids that got jobs because of softball,
right?
And thanking me for it. That's what this game's all about for me, coaching wise. But when I was young, all I wanted to do is win. Didn't matter, right? But as you get older, oh wow, that's a great story. So it's been a blessing. I've been really blessed. I've been under some great mentors. Like I said, Brad Pickler at Cypress and Mike Smith, and those guys that really just kind of mentored me into this game. And coaching wise. But it's a blast, man. Coaching softball's a blast. Like you said earlier, the girls really, they like it, and they like to focus in a lot and stuff. So we're really happy at Laverne. It's a great facility, great kids, and the education is great too. So
I was told one time when I was younger as a coach that if you look at it the right way, as a player, your legacy would probably end when you stop playing, but as a coach, your legacy will continue to go as far as you connect with your players. So your mark in the game is going to go well beyond your years because of things that you may not even know that you instilled in your players. And so when you start to change your focus to just trying to help build quality people and help them to go on and do bigger and better things, that's where your satisfaction as a coach comes. And that gives you a lot more than any wins or losses or things like that.
That's like the best. When those kids called me and said, Coach, thanks, I got the job. I kept going, oh, okay. But I do teach more than just softball. It's about life. It's about getting those skills. Being a good daughter, being a good friend. Being a good teammate. Being a good girlfriend. Just being a good person. And you're going to get rewarded. And that's the biggest thing I can tell people. Just, we're in an age now, the computer and the social media and texting, all that stuff. If you got a problem, go talk to somebody. That's what we're trying. We're running away from conflict now, and how to resolve those things. Let's go talk to them, like 2 adults. If I have a problem with Ernie, I'm going to go talk to Ernie, and hopefully he's going to be okay. Let's talk back and forth, and let's have a good conversation.
And back to that failure, it might be rough. It might take a couple of conversations. It might be uncomfortable. We may be mad at each other, but you'll hammer it out eventually. And so, when you talk to players now, and maybe your team right now, but in 10 years when you have your alumni game, you might win the championship. You might win everything. But what they're going to remember is little pieces of getting there.
Oh,
the championship, the trophies, the rings, and things like that.
I can see it now. Like, coaching's so long. And now some of my former players at Cypress are married and having kids, and they're like, dang, Coach, you were right. I said, that's what it's about. And it's a great feeling. Even going back to when I was the dean of discipline at St. Joseph High School, and they weren't supposed to walk in the grass, and I used to be there at 6:30 in the morning, right? Because the grass, it's all girls school. I'd say, ladies, what do you walk on the grass for? Go around, And they still will say it to me if they see me. Hey, Mr. Blas, remember you used to yell at us that not to cross the grass, you know? And so that's at least they remembered that, right? And they know is that a love now as they get older, right? And so that's why I want all my players who've ever played for me to know that I really truly do love them. It's just been a blessing, and the good Lord put them in my life for a reason. And it's all about life lessons, man. This whole thing's about life lessons.
So a couple questions, and then I'll let you go. I appreciate your time. First one, and I kind of ask everyone this because we're kind of in a unique time, and it wouldn't be right to not address it. Going forward, we've kind of hit a reset button. for not our own sake, but everything's going to have to reset and change. What is something that you would like to see either youth softball, youth sports in general, take from all this and learn and try to grow and be better for the kids?
I think the biggest thing, I probably in baseball too, but in softball, is to get back to doing the fundamentals. Don't just play games. You create so many bad habits when you play games, and if you don't go back and practice them, they're going to get worse habits.
Right.
And so if I could tell any travel ball coach out there, go practice. You don't have to play games every single weekend. They do. Some of these kids, they play every weekend. They're playing 6 to 8 games a weekend. I don't know how it is in baseball, but in softball, that's somebody they're playing. Yeah. On a bad weekend, they're playing at least 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I'm glad the NCAA did some things that you can't go to camps on Fridays anymore. So they had to move the camps to Saturdays. A lot of kids were missing school on Fridays.
Sure.
So now it's at least on Saturdays now that they can go. Except in the summertime, they can go whenever. But that's the biggest thing I think I can say is get back to the fundamentals of the game.
So last question, and then I'll let you go. For you as a coach, I know you now enough to know you're the kind of guy that even if I were to reach out to you as a high school player, just a question, someone watching this video. And that's part of the reason, like I said, I want players to get to know you because you're an approachable guy, you're a high energy guy, you're well-spoken, knowledgeable, and you understand things beyond softball. So a great mentor.
Thank you.
If you would have someone just to reach out, and I'm sure you're open to that, how would they get a hold of you, and what is there something that you would like to kind of leave anyone watching this that you would like to say about coming to your program and giving you a look?
You can always email me. The
Okay.
email is simple, dblas@laverne.edu. And it's only one S, so DBLES. And then if you leave your cell phone number, I'll call you back. That's the biggest thing I can do. My cell phone number is always available. Laverne is a great place. You're going to get a great education. You're going to get to still play softball, but you're going to be developed as a whole person, mentally, spiritually, physically. We have a great weight room guy and a strength coach in Matt Durant. He's like the best. Our kids come out strong, which gives them more feeling good about themselves, right? So then it takes it to the field. You're going to get the whole well-rounded event if you come to the University of Laverne. You want to talk about a great campus facility. Once this opens back up, if you guys want tours, I'm always available to give tours of our campus and our school. And so if I can do anything, make sure you go to a school that's going to be right for you. That's the biggest thing I can say, Ernie. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Go to the school that's the best fit for you. And, when you come there, whatever school you go to, expect the unexpected because anything's going to happen. But we love people with high energy. Even if you don't have high energy, we love you too. That's just the way that I coach.
Sure.
I coach at a high level 24/7. I get up. I've gotten more sleep now because of this COVID thing than I ever have.
Yeah.
Usually I get 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night. That's the honest to goodness truth. And I'm going.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of the first ones at Laverne. I get there about 7 o'clock every single morning, and I don't leave till about 6 or 7 at night.
Wow.
So, and then I do it again.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do.
It's a passion.
Right? It's a passion, and I think my players know that because I'm always around, right? And so, you're going to have, if you come to Laverne, you're going to have that family environment where we're going to nurture you, we're going to cherish you. And I tell this to all the parents of all my recruits that I ever recruit. I will treat your daughters like I would treat my own daughter. There's going to be some love, there's going to be some discipline, but no, deep down in our hearts, we all know we're all one family.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been a really good thing for me because I think, nowadays parents got to trust people with their kids.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the best thing for us.
That's very well said. And again, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do something like this because,
this is awesome.
If you're a young player, there's always that intimidation of approaching a coach. And it's hard to take that coach and understand he's still a person. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a teacher. He's done other things besides just coaching. And I need to look for more in my college experience than just the X's and O's.
Yeah, and what's funny is even the kids that said no to me at Hope or said no to me at Cypress or even the kids that said no at Laverne, I still say hi to them. Yeah. And they go, hey, coach, it ain't strange to me.
Yeah.
You pick what is best for you.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
I lost. Okay, but I'll get somebody else and we'll find something that's better for Laverne. And so I think that's the best thing I can say to everybody is don't give up on your dreams. If you want to play softball in college, go for it. go get yourself better every single day, you know. And I've been blessed. I've been truly blessed to be coaching for over 30 years and been a high school administrator. I think that's what's made me a better coach, being a teacher, a high school administrator, an AD, and now being married and having kids has maybe even become better of a coach.
Yeah, it changes your perspective.
Yes, it does.
Well said again. Coach, again, I thank you for coming
thank
out.
you.
I appreciate the drive. It was great chatting with you. Hopefully the next time we do this, it'll be after a weekend series win when
Let me know.
You're on the field.
Let me
and,
know.
we can catch some games. So again, thanks for watching. Hopefully we got some information. Great conversation with Coach D here. And if you guys are interested at Laverne, take a look at the program. Take a look at the website. If you get a chance to go out and see the stadium, it's a beautiful facility. Hopefully I can be there when you go into the Softball Hall of Fame for coaching.
Sure.
I can be front row.
One thing I always tell my players, it's one of the best things I always tell them at the very end of every interview I always do is, it's a great day to be a Leo.
It is actually. So I got to get one of those shirts for the next podcast. So again, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully we gave you some entertaining information. And again, thanks to our sponsors, 100% Media and Adam Schwartz Real Estate. So until next time, we'll see you.